Amidst the soft light and constant hum of freezers, Ellen Sterling carefully maneuvered the shopping cart through the aisles. Each product she placed in her cart was accompanied by a quick mental calculation, an exercise she did to ensure the money she carried was enough to pay for her purchases. Did I set aside enough money? She wondered, feeling a weight of uncertainty forming in her chest. Upon reaching the checkout counter, she meticulously organized each item, still holding onto the hope that everything would be okay. But when the cashier, a young person with an impersonal expression, announced the total, a feeling of panic flooded Ellen. She was $10 short. Trying to keep her composure, Ellen plunged her hands into her purse, quickly sifting through notes and coins, hoping to find the missing amount. But deep down, she knew there was nothing left. The cashier, observing Ellen's agony, impatiently remarked, "Is this going to take long? There are other people waiting." Ellen's gaze quickly swept over the faces of the customers waiting behind her. They displayed signs of impatience. Ellen's thoughts raced, trying to quickly decide what she should leave behind. Milk is essential, the cookies. Oh, but David and Vanya love them, and the chocolate cake. Agnes practically devours it, and Dale always smiles when he tastes it. Murmurs in the line began to rise, and Ellen could feel irritated glances directed at her. The situation was becoming unbearable. The cashier's sarcastic comment had created an atmosphere of palpable tension, and she seriously considered leaving everything behind and walking away with her head down. But amidst the chaos, a gentle yet resolute voice broke through. An elderly man with eyes full of understanding surprised everyone by placing $10 on the counter. The cashier, as surprised as Ellen, looked at the man for a second that seemed like an eternity. "Use this," the man said kindly, looking at Ellen. "This should cover it." Amidst the fluorescent supermarket lighting, the cashier, a woman with a stern expression and narrow eyes, seemed even more furious. The words were already on the tip of her tongue before the elderly man's reaction fully manifested. She pursed her lips into a thin, rigid line, and her eyes cast an accusatory glare. "Don't you see," she began, her voice dripping with disdain, "this is how opportunists like her operate, living on the edge, waiting for the goodwill of charitable souls? She was just waiting for someone like you, naive enough to be deceived and open the wallet." Deborah felt heat rise up her neck, reaching her cheeks, which turned crimson with every word uttered by the cashier, making her feel smaller and smaller amidst her shame. She hastily began putting the items into a bag, wishing to disappear. The elderly man, however, remained calm, observing the scene. Yet it was Deborah who broke the silence first. "Thank you," she murmured, her eyes moist with emotion. "I promise I'll pay back every cent. It's not about taking advantage, it's just a tough moment." The elderly man nodded, conveying understanding through his gaze. He knew that not all situations were as black and white as they seemed. The parking lot lights began to shine more brightly as twilight descended. People started to disperse, and Ellen, her face still flushed from recent embarrassment, held the shopping bag's handle, feeling the weight sink into her wrist. She struggled to balance the load, mentally cursing the lack of shopping carts at the supermarket. When she heard hurried steps behind her, the same man from the supermarket, the one who had helped her, was by her side. His eyes, surrounded by skin that spoke of years of experiences and hardships, held undeniable kindness. "You shouldn't strain yourself so much," he remarked, his tone gentle amidst the surrounding noise. "Allow me." He extended his hands. "I insist. It won't cost me anything to help you." Ellen hesitated for a moment, studying him. Despite the fragile appearance, the frailty that suggested a long battle with some ailment, there was a dignity in his posture. The gleam of a well-maintained watch on his wrist, the cut of his coat, the way he communicated, everything spoke of a man who had, at some point, known what respect was. And, most importantly, he had been her only anchor in a sea of judgment and sarcasm. She nodded slowly, handing him the bag. "Thank you, Ellen said, her gratitude palpable in every word. "I don't know how to express my gratitude for your kindness today." He smiled, and for a moment, the pallor and thinness of his face were forgotten. "Sometimes," he said, "we just need to remind ourselves that there's still goodness in the world." The parking lot lights gently illuminated the two as they walked side by side. The night's shadow slowly engulfed the scene, the cool breeze delicately brushing against Ellen's hair while the heavy weight of the day seemed to want to drag her down. "I'll pay you back," she began, her voice slightly trembling, seeking some reaction in the man's eyes. "I'll receive my benefits next month, and I'll make sure every penny is returned to you." Jordan Assad, whose name Ellen now knew, looked at her with a gentle expression. His eyes carried a blend of empathy and wisdom, as if they had seen more than their share of sorrows and joys over the years. "Don't worry about it, Ellen," he said softly, raising his hand in a reassuring gesture. "There are things in life that are more important than money." Surprised by his generosity and the familiar name he carried, Ellen asked, "Are you the same Jordan Assad who owns those businesses in town?" A humble smile crossed Jordan's withered face. "Yes, that's me. But at the end of the day, we're all humans, right?" The journey to Ellen's home became a journey through her memories. She spoke of a childhood marked by simplicity, her mother's daily struggle as a postal worker, rain or shine, and the tragedy of losing her father in an accident that left them without support. Ellen described the years that followed, between moments of struggle and hope, with an unwavering optimism that believed in a better future despite everything. "I never lost hope," she admitted, her eyes shining under the moonlight. "I always believed that life had something more in store for me. And so, like many girls my age, I ended up getting married right after finishing school, hoping for a fresh start." Jordan listened attentively, his expression reflecting deep admiration for the strength and resilience of the young woman by his side. As they arrived at Ellen's modest home, he knew he had encountered someone truly special. Blake, Ellen's husband, was an impressive figure with a captivating personality. The sparkle in his brown eyes always seemed to promise adventures, and he had the rare ability to make Ellen feel like the only woman in the world. From the first day they met, he courted her with romantic gestures, small surprises, and sweet words that made Ellen fall more deeply in love every day. The passion between them was so overwhelming that even under skeptical gazes and concerned advice from their parents, they exchanged vows under a star-adorned sky, solidifying their commitment to each other. The years that followed were filled with laughter, challenges, and blessings in the form of their 4 children. David, with his curious eyes, led the pack. After him came the twins, Agnes and Dale, who, though distinct in personality, shared an inseparable bond. And then, the icing on the cake, little Vanya, with her golden curls and contagious laughter. But with the growing size of the family, Blake's responsibilities also grew. He, who had been raised in the cold corridors of an orphanage, dreamed of providing a spacious and cozy home for his family. While his skills as a mason provided them with a decent living, the dream of the perfect house remained out of reach. Then came the opportunity to work on the construction of a grand shopping center in another state, promising a salary that was unimaginable until then. Blake, with a glimmer of hope and enthusiasm in his eyes, took Ellen's hands and said, "Ellen, believe me, in just a year or 2, we could have that house with a garden for the kids to play. This is our chance." Ellen, looking deeply into her husband's eyes, responded with a mix of hesitation and understanding. "I know, dear, and I trust you. But somehow, I feel a tug at my heart with this change." Strengthening each other, Ellen, with her sensitive soul, felt a lot of unease every time she thought about Blake's decision to move to another city in search of a better life for the family. It was as if the universe was whispering warnings in her ear, a subtle premonition, yet she never stopped him or tried to discourage him because she would stand by his side through every choice. Every day, the doorbell followed by the delivery of a call from an official letter stole Ellen's breath away. Reading the words accident and deceased left her shattered, as if the ground had been ripped from beneath her feet. The cruel irony of it all was that Blake was on his way home to surprise her on Thanksgiving Day. He decided to hitchhike, eager to embrace his children and beloved wife. Unfortunately, fate was cruel. The truck he hitched a ride with veered off, plunging into a deep and turbulent river. While the truck driver's body was recovered, Blake, by some twist of fate, remained missing. Search teams scoured the area, and divers braved the river's dark depths. Still, nothing. The community rallied around Ellen during those dark days, but the void left by Blake was palpable. As days turned into weeks, Ellen had to make the most painful decision of all, to hold a funeral without a body to bid farewell to. She placed some of Blake's favorite things in the casket, a watch she had given him on their anniversary, a scarf he wore on cold days, and a family photo. It was still hard to believe. Ellen was in a constant state of denial and mourning, unable to accept that her life's love, her family's pillar, would not be coming home. With every laugh from her children, every memory of the past, Blake's absence became even more poignant as moments unfolded between them. The scenery around seemed to fade, leaving only two hearts pulsating with shared stories of loss and despair. With a trembling voice and eyes shining with unshed tears, Ellen disclosed every painful detail of her journey to Jordan. She spoke with raw honesty, and each word unveiled the depth of her pain. Jordan, a man exuding authority and success, listened attentively. His hardened expression softened by empathy when Ellen finished. He paused before responding. "Life has a strange way of testing us, doesn't it?" he said, reflecting on her story. She nodded, wiping a salty trail of tears from her cheek. "I don't know how to thank you for everything you've done today," she said, gratitude evident in her voice. Jordan, with a deep sigh, began to share a piece of his own soul. "You don't need to thank me, Ellen. You know, behind this facade of success, I carry my own scars. My son, my pride and joy, was called to defend our country in distant lands. I thought of him every night, dreaming of his return, hoping to embrace my future grandchildren. But he never came back." He paused, emotions gleaming in his eyes. "And my wife, the light of my life, couldn't bear the weight of the loss. She passed away 6 months after him, leaving me alone in this vast world. Money and success can't fill that void." Ellen looked at him with newfound insight. She had preconceived the notion that those born with a silver spoon didn't know the trenches of pain. But here was Jordan, proving otherwise. War, she realized, didn't discriminate based on wealth or status. Every family, rich or poor, paid its price. And in this moment between them, the differences of class and wealth dissolved, leaving only two souls united by tragedy and understanding. Ellen, still holding the bag that Jordan had carried for her, stopped at the top of the steps to her humble home. Her garden was a little neglected, a reflection of the chaos in her recent life. "Would you like to come in for some tea?" she asked, a bit hesitantly, her eyes still shaded by the recent revelations. Jordan looked around briefly, seeming to contemplate the invitation. "I appreciate the kindness, Ellen," he replied, with a glint of sadness in his eyes, "but maybe some other time. My body hasn't been the same lately. Doctors are talking surgeries and a tumor, but I've been putting off the decision. It's funny, I feel like a little boy apprehensive about a simple dentist visit." His sad smile gave a glimpse of his vulnerability. Ellen nodded, understanding that behind Jordan's facade of strength was a person who also faced his own demons. "I understand. I hope you take care of yourself, and thank you again." Before he left, Jordan said, gripping his cane firmly, "I want to promise you something. I will investigate what happened to Blake. I have some contacts, including a private investigator who worked on homicide cases before retiring. He's very good at what he does." Ellen, surprised, swallowed hard. "Why would you do this for me?" she asked, incredulous. The idea of a stranger being so willing to help seemed unreal. Because everyone deserves justice and peace, Jordan replied with conviction. Because I believe that helping others is a way to find my own path to redemption. The days that followed were torture for Ellen, each dawn bringing hope for news. But Jordan's silence left her disheartened. 2 endless weeks later, Ellen had come to accept the idea that her chance to uncover the truth had faded, along with the promise of a man she had known for a brief moment. The drowsiness of the afternoon was abruptly interrupted by the insistent sound of the doorbell. Once, twice, 3 times. Ellen, accustomed to the calm of the house since Blake's disappearance, furrowed her brow, wondering who could be so persistent. Upon opening the door, the world seemed to spin around her. There, as if risen from the dead, stood Blake. His eyes, once full of vigor, now looked tired, his skin paler, and his body seemed to have lost weight. But what caught Ellen's attention the most was the prominent scar crossing Blake's forehead. "Blake, it can't be. Is it really you?" The words escaped her lips in an incredulous whisper, tears welling up quickly before she could say more. Blake, with teary eyes, broke into a sad smile and nodded affirmatively. She rushed to him, embracing him with all the strength her body could muster. The two got lost in the embrace, tears of relief and love streaming down both their faces. Behind Blake, the familiar figure of Jordan Assad emerged, watching the reunion with a gentle gleam in his eyes. It was thanks to him that this moment was happening. When they finally sat down, the comforting aroma of freshly brewed tea permeating the air, Blake began to share his story. After the fall, everything went dark. I remember the impact, the freezing water, and the blinding pain in my head. When I woke up, I was in a strange place, cared for by people I'd never seen before. He paused, looking at his trembling hands. They found me by the riverbank, brought me back to life. But my mind was in pieces. I couldn't remember anything, not even my own name. Ellen, with tears in her eyes, squeezed Blake's hand, giving him the strength to continue. For months, I lived with those who saved me, the homeless who fished by the river. They became my family, and even without remembering who I was, I wanted to repay their kindness. I helped them fish, make fires, but I always felt that something was missing. I always knew I should look for something, but I didn't know what. Until one day, while fishing, I saw Jordan Assad's face passing by, and something inside me lit up. He recognized me, and it all started coming back. Jordan smiled, adding, "And I knew I had to bring him back to you, Ellen. After all, I promised to help." The detective hired by Jordan Assad wasn't just anyone, he was a legend in his field, with a distinguished career involving intricate cases and surprising resolutions. It was his instincts, meticulousness, and tenacity that led to the discovery of Blake. Many would have given up, attributing the disappearance to the accident's fate, but this detective knew that sometimes what seems obvious hides deeper layers. Before finally reuniting with his family, Blake was admitted to a specialized clinic to treat the trauma and resulting amnesia from the fall. Doctors and therapists worked diligently, using advanced techniques to help him regain his identity and memory. On the day of his return, the house was filled with laughter, shouts of joy, and the contagious sound of happiness. Agnes, David, Dale, and Vanya surrounded their father with looks of admiration and relief. The miracle they had all hoped for but secretly feared would never happen had finally come true. Ellen, with 2 shining eyes, grabbed Jordan's hand and said with a trembling voice, "Mr. Assad, how can we ever thank you enough? You've brought back the heart of our family." Jordan, ever humble, averted his gaze, clearly touched. "I just did what I felt was right, Ellen. We all deserve a second chance, don't we?" And so, in that house filled with love and gratitude, Jordan found a place that had long been missing for him. Despite all his wealth and success, loneliness was his constant companion. But now he had a family who adored him. Whenever Jordan's footsteps echoed in the entrance, the small feet of Agnes, David, Dale, and Vanya ran to greet him, their laughter filling the air. For the elderly businessman, these moments were a precious reminder of days past when he himself was young, and life unfolded with all its possibilities. After all, the universe had its own plans, and for Jordan, they involved a family he never expected to have. The end of winter brought with it the prelude to his 70th year, but Mr. Assad didn't live to see the following spring. He passed away just 2 days before his celebration, and rumors circulated through the town that he had sensed the proximity of his end. "I have little time," he confided to a close friend on a cold night, "and I want to leave a legacy that has meaning." The news of his death was a shock to many, but his final gesture was a testament to the generous man he had always been. 6 months after his passing, a lawyer with a serious countenance but kind eyes presented himself at Blake and Ellen's door. His name was Samuel, and he carried the weight of Mr. Assad's final wishes. With a gentle voice, Samuel began, "Blake, Ellen, I had the honor of serving Mr. Assad for many years, and today I am here to deliver his last message and wish." Unfurling a carefully sealed document, he continued, "By decision of his will, Mr. Assad left to you all his property, assets, and bank accounts distributed around the world." Ellen looked deeply at Blake, both stunned. The words seemed to echo, and the world around them felt distant. Blake, his voice choked, asked, "But why? We had a close relationship, but this is beyond comprehension." Samuel, smiling gently, replied, "Mr. Assad always believed in doing good. He saw something special in you both and wanted to ensure a bright future for your family. He used to say, 'I may not have heirs by blood, but I have a family by heart.'" The news of the inheritance not only changed Blake and Ellen's lives materially, but also reinforced their commitment to perpetuate Mr. Assad's legacy of kindness and generosity. Every week, without fail, they visited his grave, placing a bouquet of fresh roses on it, a silent tribute to the man who had made their whole world. At night, gazing at the starry sky, Ellen would whisper, "I hope you're watching, Mr. Assad, and that you're proud of us." They felt in their hearts that he was up there, smiling and blessing every step they took. Thank you for joining us today on Deep Stories. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video.